Welcome to Neon Cobra. Let's kick into it. Great. So this week we're going to do a quick how-to actually. So I know there was an opportunity to do cost optimizations in some of the previous videos, and I talked about going through, but I do want to show you actually how to book a savings plan. So I'm going to present my screen. We're going to go into Azure. We're going to talk about what it actually takes to do to get this working, and then I'll ensure that we have the ability let me put it here, to actually roll this out in your environment. So all of the precursors and everything we talked about in my previous cost optimization video and the risks of savings plans still apply. These are permanent contracts. There's no early termination fees or anything. But when you're using them in tandem with reservations, they are very, very powerful in driving down overall costs. So quick summary, reservations are a one-to-one match on compute. I got a B2MS in Canada Central. I need to buy a B2MS in Canada Central to protect the resource. If that thing varies anywhere off from that B2 to a different series like a D2, that reservation is no longer compliant and I pay for my full pay-go rates and the B2MS reservation. Savings plans do not have those constraints. Savings plans match any compute in the environment and then discounts it until the savings plan is consumed. So if I have $100 in a savings plan per month, I'm dedicating to Microsoft that I will commit $100 of compute per month. And as a result, any compute running will pull from it at a discounted rate, anywhere from 40 to 60%. Once that discounted pool is done, if the compute is continuing to run, it'll run at the full price. So where we see this used most effectively would be host pools, right? Scaling infrastructure or application development, where we've got a lot of different resources of different times spinning up and coming online. So, a good example would be I have a host pool with 5 hosts. One is on 24/7, so I'll use a reserved instance. Perfect. But the other 4 scale in and out based on organizational usage. So I don't really want to put the reservation plans on them, because if they're not on for 300 hours a month, it's more cost effective to just pay hourly. But you can reduce it further by applying a savings plan. And the savings plan will say, look, it's not protected by a reservation, but all these 5 turn on for maybe 100 hours a month. So I'm going to discount as much of that as possible till my funds are drawn. So that's high level savings plans. Reservations have the ability to be canceled and swapped in exchange. So there's flexibility and less risk. Saving plans are true commits. So when you roll them out, make sure you need them. So to get to this, you would come in, you would search at the top of Azure savings plans and find savings plans. From there, you will choose purchase now. This will then look at your subscriptions. You can choose your savings plan name. So we'll call this test savings plans, and it can only have no spaces. So we'll do industry favorite underscores. We get to choose the scope and scale. Essentially, am I going to cover all subscriptions? Am I only going to do it on this subscription? Am I going to target a specific resource group or management of groups? That's very important, right? Because sometimes you only want to maybe do savings plans for dev and you don't want it to affect production. You can be very specific into what it covers. You then choose the term length, whether it's a 1 year or a 3 year. Now, it's going to provide recommendations based on consumption in the environment. And I do want to pause there for a second. So what you will find if you go to your cost advisor, it'll usually provide you savings recommendations on reservations and savings plans. The thing is, the savings plans and the reservations aren't taking them into account each other. So if you're going to do reservations, I recommend buying those first as you need them and then waiting 30 days and return to see if a savings plan makes sense. Because if you're going to do both, you're going to double dip and actually save nothing. You're going to cost yourself more money. So you need to be aware that the advisor only updates usually on 7 or 30-day intervals based on its last set of data. So if you lock in reservations and tomorrow go to do savings plans, it's going to tell you to lock in much, much higher than recommended. So in this case, we'll choose a 1 year recommendation, and then it's going to recommend the hourly commit. And this is based on current consumption over the last 30 days, right? You can come in and view the recommendations and different requirements and suggestions based on what you see there. Now, for sake of not spending a lot of money, I'm going to do the bare minimum, which is a fraction of a cent. And you can see my overall cost is going to be 0.73 per month, and the total amount is $8.76. Now, the ability to pay upfront or monthly, generally we see monthly to be a little bit more amenable, but if you do have organizations that maybe function in more CapEx expenditures where they spend everything upfront, that's a good place to start. And decide whether they auto renew or not. So for this, I'm not going to choose to auto renew. We'll check next. Some additional informations, right? And current demand rate. We'll see everything there. And then we're going to choose buy now. And will be charged as your warning. And then yes. Now, this will implement the savings plan. You will see it start to roll out in the environment. You can purchase other ones, do what you need to do. Now, understanding this is not retroactive. So if I start this today, which currently is April 23rd, 2025, it's not going to go back and cover me to the 1st of April. It's consumption charges from this point forward. Very similar to reservations, we're going to see its utilization patterns, what it's covering, where it's protecting. It is also going to remove its charges from Azure Cost Manager. So if you're expecting to see savings plans show up in ACM charges, it will not be there. ACM is generally consumption charges only. So this is, again, really good way to kind of layer on additional levels of savings. This one, whereas a reservations is coming at it with a sword, and slicing things left and right for discounts. Savings plans coming in surgically. You're going to then come in and just trim little bits off here and there and be very prescriptive with your purchasing, because this is one of the few things that does not have an exit clause on. You're on the hook. So be sure you're actually coming down with the numbers you need. So that does it for this week. Again, thank you for following. Love to see more subscriptions on YouTube. Interact with me on LinkedIn. Reach out if you have any questions. And with that, we'll catch you next time.